Before I get into this critique of the show, I want to preface that I've only seen the first episode, and that there is still a lot left to watch, unfortunately. So to anyone who's already typing in the comments saying, "Well, Max, you don't know, you haven't seen the entire season yet." As my Marine Corps sergeant instructor would say, if it smells like a turd and looks like a turd, it's probably a turd. I understand that this is just the first episode and things can change within the season, but when creating a pilot, you always want to put your best foot forward by introducing things like your protagonist and what the themes will be in the show, so that you hook your audience and encourage them to come back for more. Your audience should be excited for the next episode and to find out how the story plays out or how the character grows. But, you know, it's one thing when you have like high expectations for a show and come away from it disappointed, but it's a whole other nightmare of a story when you go in with low expectations and still come out hating it and being disappointed. And that's exactly how I felt with this first episode. I thought that Multiverse of Madness had set the bar pretty low. I mean, after watching Reed Richards be made into spaghetti and Black Bolt blow the back of his brains out with his own power, all at the expense of a funny joke and shock value, it reassured my belief that companies like Disney and Amazon have no respect for these characters. That scene pretty much broke me. But then, Thor Love and Thunder came out, and a new bar was lowered. Thor was humiliated and made a complete fool in his own movie. Nothing made sense, and once again, characters and events were tossed to the side and demeaned for the sake of comedy. But this show is different. This may be the worst thing Marvel has put out to date and set the bar at an all-time new low. The editing is bad, the dialogue is cringy, the pacing is way too choppy, the CGI is rough, but the cherry on top is the line that sums up the entire episode.
Because I'm better than you?
Before the show even came out, there were clips and trailers circulating Twitter that basically had Hulk and She-Hulk training that furthered the trope of everything Hulk can do, She-Hulk can do better. Well, that's the entire first episode.
Basically, I was right and Bruce was wrong.
Could we get any more on the nose with this awful writing? As you will soon see in this video, Jennifer Walters comes off as an insufferable, condescending, narcissistic, and arrogant bint. And I just hope that she isn't this way for the rest of the other episodes.
It has given many writers permission to ignore character development altogether and simply copy and paste all the belligerent traits we hated about stereotypical male characters and write them into female characters instead.
The line from Jennifer where she sarcastically says, "I'm better than you," is stated while she's talking to Bruce about the car accident earlier in the episode, and how his blood was infused with hers. According to the show, Jennifer is the one who saves Bruce from the car, not the other way around. Because in the comics, the original origin is that Bruce has to do an emergency blood transfusion for his cousin so that she wouldn't die. But get this. There are actual people out there saying that the comic origin story was goofy, and so they didn't matter what they did with her origin.
In the comic books, for that matter, it was a little more ridiculous. David Bruce Banner at the time, gave her blood because she got shot. And whoops, side effects. Here we have the Savage She-Hulk. But yeah, I thought at first I was like, oh, that's kind of ridiculous. But I'm like, okay, well, the comic book origin is really ridiculous too. So let's just... All right.
Are you kidding me? The cope is unbelievable at this point. The fact that comic readers would just continually put up with bad writing and lackluster character development when they have the source material right there that is objectively written better. A selfless and loving act displaying the humanity and personal side of Bruce, which so beautifully is juxtaposed between his alter ego as Hulk, an angry, misunderstood monster of a man, and the loving, caring, and intelligent scientist Bruce Banner, sharing a bond with his cousin and now being connected not just by blood but on a much deeper emotional level as well. But in this origin story, she saves him because women power.
They're always right, they don't lose, they're girl bosses, they're girls who have power, they're strong, they kick ass, they kick men's ass, they don't fall under man, they don't kneel before man, they don't need a man. Because men make us weak, because all men are sexist and hide under our beds to scream at us in the middle of the night. Right?
But back to what I was originally saying, Anything Bruce can do, Jennifer can do better.
Because I'm better than you?
Not only do we see this with her actions, as she is easily able to transform between herself and her alter ego, having complete control over that, she beats the crap out of Hulk during a fight towards the end of the show. Oh, and also sucker punches him just to add insult to injury.
Enough dialectical behavioral bullshit! Patriarchy!
But if you didn't think that was bad, you should hear how she talks to him. In this infamous clip, Bruce is trying to tell her how important it is for her to control her emotions. Considering that if, worst case scenario, she wasn't able to control them, she now has the power to completely obliterate cities, killing and mutilating innocent people. And Bruce would know this firsthand as he has experienced the horrors of this. But instead, Jennifer taking his advice and understanding the weight of her situation, she lectures him and tells him how much better she is at managing her anger than he is.
I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
Are you out of your goddamn mind?
And to think that this show is marketed as a comedy sitcom. This makes Jennifer an extremely unlikable character, due to the fact that she is saying this to someone with whom she is aware of their plight. She knows what Bruce has been through, because later she screams at him, mocking him of all the terrible things that have happened to him, like being tricked and abused by the government, and then being isolated from his loved ones, dealing with decades worth of trauma. Not to mention the fact that he's literally tried to commit by putting a bullet through the back of his head. She has no compassion or empathy for her cousin and completely disregards his feelings and his suffering, all because she wants to prove to him how oppressed she is, how tortured she is. Why do today's writers and influencers promote this victimhood mentality to see who can win the award for who is the most oppressed? As this female YouTuber and movie essayist Nutso would say.
What I hated the most about the show was like this entire feminist thing was just so annoying. I'm so over it. I want to stop hearing about it. I want these movies to stop telling me that I'm oppressed. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Like, this is the same industry that like supported and thanked Harvey Weinstein for years, and then these women like Elizabeth Banks come out now and just make these movies, and I'm like, I don't care. Go back to your $1 million mansion. I don't care.
Spoken from a truly strong female. But what a lot of women are going to say about this specific clip with Jennifer and Bruce is that she is just stating her truth. Well, her truth is an angry and insecure rant that is misdirected at her cousin who only wants to help her. He's not telling her to be submissive and an obedient little girl. Like I said before, he's trying to walk her through the process of dealing with these new powers so that she can feel supported and understood. And how does she respond to this? She fucks right off and leaves the island.
Yeah, it kind of seems like I'm done here.
What an irresponsible little child! Her responses to Bruce's help are completely out of touch. As an intelligent woman, which we are assuming that she is because of her career as a lawyer, she should understand the weight of what has happened to her, and what the consequences are if something bad were to happen, or if things got out of control. But because women empowerment and all that, she can't receive support or advice or, God forbid, mentorship from a man.
Well, maybe you should try working a little harder to figure your shit out instead of spending all your time sitting around longing for the days when you could blame all of your problems on straight white guys.
It's overly apparent that the writers are projecting their insecurities and ideologies through Jennifer, utilizing her as a political mouthpiece to propagandize intersectional feminist ideals. This show is specifically geared towards wine moms and privileged white women with leftist and feminist agendas. But don't take it from me, this is coming directly from the two main female actors in the show, in which they both say that this is a show about feminism. Isn't it interesting that, like, when I say the show is about feminism, I get in trouble and potentially canceled and, like, called a toxic male? But when the actresses and showrunners say it, it's like they're applauded, as brave and strong and empowering. Ugh. All in all, Jennifer is a snarky, privileged, narcissistic, and condescending bitch. And honestly, if you like this character, I think it says a whole hell of a lot about you than me, and how you treat other people and what you deem to be acceptable behavior in society, which is pretty sad. So where do we go from here? Why do we continually get these unlikable lead characters? What types of morals or lessons is this going to show and teach to young men and women? Is there hope for us in today's climate to see an accurate portrayal of an actual strong female protagonist like Ripley, Sarah Connor, or Galadriel from The Lord of the Rings? Let me know in the comments section below. Reject modernity and embrace your legacy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.